7 subtle mind games women tend to play when they feel a strong sexual attraction toward you, and how to navigate each one effectively. These are rooted in psychology. Attraction rarely announces itself with noise or certainty. More often, it appears quietly, almost like a whisper, waiting to see who is truly paying attention. When a woman feels a deep sexual pull toward a man, she almost never expresses it in a direct or obvious way. Instead, that attraction reveals itself through small strategic behaviors, actions that test your awareness, your confidence, and your emotional control. These are not random signals or meaningless gestures. They are deliberate, subtle psychological patterns designed to understand how grounded and perceptive you are as a man. She may introduce moments of uncertainty, press lightly on your emotional triggers, or even create a sense of competition, not to push you away, but to observe how you handle pressure. Attraction feeds on emotional tension, and these behaviors are her way of intensifying that energy. This isn't about manipulation for control. It's attraction searching for depth, challenge, and genuine spark. Most men misinterpret these signs. They assume she's uninterested, confused, or simply playing games without purpose. And without realizing it, they pull back too soon, losing momentum before anything meaningful has a chance to develop. But once you understand what's really happening beneath the surface, your entire perspective shifts. What looks like distance often becomes an invitation. What feels like confusion is usually curiosity in disguise. She's not pushing you out. She's observing whether you're strong, calm, and self-aware enough to step further in. Today, we're breaking down the 7 common mind games women display when they're sexually attracted to you, and exactly how to handle each one with clarity and control. 1. The push-pull dynamic. The push-pull dynamic is one of the most misunderstood yet revealing patterns you'll ever notice when a woman feels genuine attraction. Once you learn to recognize it properly, what once felt chaotic begins to make sense with surprising clarity. Because what appears as mixed signals is often a quiet psychological invitation to reveal who you truly are under emotional pressure. One moment she's leaning in, holding eye contact just a little longer than necessary, lightly touching your arm as if it happened by chance, laughing in a way that feels warm and personal, and the next moment she pulls back. Her responses slow down, she creates space, or she seems immersed in her own world. That sudden shift can feel disorienting if you don't understand the psychology behind it. The key is simple. Don't panic. Don't rush to explain yourself. Don't assume you made a mistake. Stay calm. Stay curious. That is the real test. In female psychology, attraction is not only about appearance or conversation, it's about how you regulate yourself when uncertainty shows up. Emotional steadiness is far more attractive than constant availability. When she pulls away after showing interest, she's often observing quietly, watching whether you chase anxiously, withdraw with frustration, or remain relaxed and grounded in your own frame. This is where many men lose without realizing it. The push creates anticipation, while the pull tests your balance, and together they build the tension that keeps attraction alive. If you overwhelm her with messages, overanalyze her tone, or try to force clarity too quickly, that tension collapses. But if you stay centered, playful, and present, something shifts within her. She feels safe exploring attraction because you are not demanding certainty before she's ready to give it. This is one of the most powerful psychological dynamics at play, and it has nothing to do with manipulation. It's about emotional awareness. Be warm when warmth is offered, but don't cling to it. Enjoy the moment, but don't try to control it. When she creates distance, remain steady. Continue living your life. Keep your energy light, because that balance communicates confidence without needing words. In female psychology, confidence is quiet. It's not loud or performative. It belongs to the man who doesn't need to win every moment to feel secure. It's the man who understands that falling in love isn't about chasing intensity, but about allowing natural rhythm. Resist the urge to label her behavior as confusing or unfair. Once you recognize the pattern, It becomes an invitation rather than a threat. The push-pull dynamic keeps emotional energy moving, and movement is where attraction breathes. That's why men who stay unaffected by temporary distance often become more intriguing, not less. Don't question her silence. Don't demand reassurance. When she returns, be present as if nothing was ever at risk, because that calm response communicates emotional maturity in a way words never could. This is how you experience attraction without losing yourself. And it's why men who understand these dynamics don't feel controlled by them. They simply observe, respond, and remain grounded. When you master this, you stop trying to win her interest and instead become the environment where attraction flows naturally. Female psychology responds deeply to men who can hold connection without pressure, closeness without anxiety, and distance without resentment. That is not indifference. That is balance. That is emotional intelligence in action. Stay patient, stay playful, stay consistent in who you are. Attraction grows where curiosity meets safety, and the push-pull dynamic exists to measure exactly that. Once you see it clearly, you no longer feel tested. You feel chosen, because now you understand how to engage attraction without forcing it, how to read subtle behavior without fear, and how to let these dynamics work in your favor instead of against you. 2. The jealousy trigger. The jealousy trigger is one of the most subtle yet revealing moments you'll encounter when attraction is present. It often appears harmless, almost accidental, and that's exactly why it's effective. She might casually mention another man in conversation, not dramatically, just a name placed lightly into the moment. She might compliment someone else's style or success, or laugh just a bit more than expected at another man's joke. Enough for you to notice, but not enough to confront. The reaction you feel inside, that tightening in your chest, the sudden alertness, the urge to prove something that is not random. This moment acts as a mirror, reflecting how you see yourself. The key is to remain composed. Don't react impulsively. Don't interrogate her. Don't compete openly. Stay calm, observant, even slightly amused. That is the test. In moments like this, she is quietly measuring your emotional control and your sense of self-worth. Nothing reveals a man faster than how he handles perceived competition. If you become defensive, ask pointed questions, or try to subtly outperform the other man, you communicate insecurity without saying a word, and attraction cools instantly. But if you remain relaxed, grounded, and lightly playful, you send a completely different message. You know your value, and you don't rely on external validation to feel secure. That is the difference between a reactive man and a high-value man. A high-value man does not panic when attention briefly shifts. He understands that attention is fluid, while confidence comes from within. The jealousy trigger is not meant to push you away. It is meant to see whether you can rise above emotional noise. This is where masculine energy shows itself, not through control, but through calm presence and restraint. True confidence is quiet certainty, the ability to remain steady when others might falter. When she senses that you are unaffected by perceived competition, her respect deepens and her curiosity grows. She feels safe leaning toward you because you are not constantly seeking reassurance. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of attraction. Many believe it grows through pursuit, but in reality, it grows through self-possession. The jealousy trigger also subtly increases perceived value by introducing contrast, and contrast sharpens attention. But the goal is not to make you feel inadequate. It's to see whether you remain whole. Confidence is not cold indifference. It is warmth without instability. Stay engaged, stay present, keep your tone light. Show interest without becoming possessive. That balance is rare, and rarity is attractive. The men who truly attract women are not the loudest or most aggressive. They are the ones who know their worth and embody it naturally. A grounded man understands that attraction is not something to win, but something to allow. He doesn't rush to prove himself, nor does he withdraw out of fear. He remains open, relaxed, and steady. That is masculine energy at its most effective. When you respond this way, The jealousy trigger stops being a test and becomes a spark, because she sees that you are not influenced by comparison. Remember, comparison weakens connection while confidence strengthens it. The ideal balance is confidence without distance, strength without rigidity, and interest without neediness. This is how attraction grows consistently, not through tactics alone, but through emotional maturity. Don't overanalyze the moment. Don't replay it endlessly. Stay present. Stay steady. Stay steady. Be fully yourself without apology. 3. The mixed signals test. The mixed signals test is one of the most misunderstood psychological dynamics in modern attraction, yet it has existed for generations under different names. Once you truly understand it, you stop guessing and start leading with clarity. One day she is fully present, engaged, responsive, laughing easily, replying quickly. And the next, she becomes distant, quieter, slower to respond, or emotionally cooler. Not because something suddenly went wrong, but because uncertainty reveals your internal structure. And most men fail at this stage, not because they lack value, but because they lack emotional discipline. Mixed signals are not chaos. They are pressure. And pressure exposes whether your confidence is genuine or fragile, whether your self-respect is stable or dependent on validation. Attraction does not deepen through constant reassurance. It deepens through grounded presence. In a world filled with instant messaging, read receipts, and endless comparisons, silence can feel louder than ever. But silence is not rejection. It is a test of your internal order. When attention pulls back, most men either chase too hard, sending extra messages, asking for clarity too soon, trying to fix something that was never broken, or they withdraw completely out of pride or frustration. But both reactions come from the same place, losing their center. The man who understands this dynamic does neither. He remains steady. He keeps his rhythm. He continues living his life because true strength is quiet, and real confidence does not rush. Unpredictability fuels attraction, only when it is met with stability, not anxiety. Emotional restraint is not suppression. It is mastery earns respect. When she leans in again, the same principle applies. You don't overinvest, you don't accelerate unnaturally. You stay grounded. Extremes destroy momentum, while steadiness builds trust. The mixed signals test is not about earning her approval. It is about proving to yourself that your emotional state is self-governed. The moment someone else controls your reactions, you lose clarity, peace, and presence. In a world where many people are uncertain and overstimulated, your consistency becomes rare, and rarity creates attraction effortlessly. This is not manipulation, it is self-leadership. You can't control others, only your responses, your standards, and your time. Remember this simple rule: no chasing, no sulking, no emotional bargaining. Calm presence speaks louder than explanations, and patience always outperforms urgency. The man who passes this test does not seek reassurance. He becomes reassuring through his behavior, his tone, and his steady presence. That steadiness creates safety, curiosity, and respect at the same time. Stay centered when attention fades. Stay composed when it returns. Stay focused on your purpose, because mixed signals lose power when there is nothing unstable to react to. An iron mind remains calm under pressure, calm in uncertainty, calm in attraction. And that calm becomes magnetic, because when you master your reactions, you master the dynamic. And when you master the dynamic, others begin to adjust to your energy instead of the other way around. This is how you win. Not loudly, not desperately, but calmly, consistently, and on your own terms. 4. The silent treatment play. She suddenly goes quiet, and that silence feels heavier than any argument ever could. No messages lighting up your screen. No calls interrupting your day. Just an empty space where connection used to exist. Almost instantly, your mind tries to fill that gap, replaying past conversations, analyzing small details, creating meanings that were never confirmed. That tension you feel is not random. It is the exact reaction this moment is designed to create. Silence carries weight. In female psychology, it often acts as a subtle but powerful way to draw attention without force. to create emotional pressure without saying a word, and to reveal who you truly are when reassurance disappears. But here is the truth. You must understand if you want to maintain your balance. Silence is rarely about punishment and almost never about cruelty. It is about observation. It is about seeing whether you stay grounded when external signals fade. Do not mistake quiet for rejection, because reacting as if you are being abandoned is how many men undermine their own attraction. Don't rush to fill the silence. Don't send messages just to get a response. Don't over-explain your last words or actions. Urgency communicates insecurity faster than anything else. Instead, be still, be steady, stay anchored in your own life. Calmness is attractive precisely because it does not demand attention. Silence only gains power when you allow it to disturb you. The moment you continue living fully, focusing on your work, your health, your routines, your purpose, the silence begins to lose its effect. And that shift is felt even without word. When she notices that you didn't chase, didn't panic, didn't try to pull her back with pressure, curiosity often replaces distance. Traction rebuilds naturally. This is why patience is not passive, it is active confidence. It communicates that you trust your value, and that trust is contagious. Continue your life without making a show of it. Don't post for attention. Don't withdraw in bitterness. Don't pretend you don't care. Just remain grounded. Because nothing is more compelling than a man whose sense of self does not depend on response times. And when she returns, as silence often ends quietly, without explanation, welcome her back with ease. Don't interrogate, don't punish, don't bring up the gap as if keeping score. Resentment damages connection far more than silence ever could. Be relaxed, be open, be present. That is emotional maturity in action. Especially as men grow older, attraction becomes less about intensity and more about steadiness. Silence then becomes a mirror, reflecting your stability back to her. And stability is deeply attractive because it signals strength, reliability, and inner peace. This is not about pretending not to care. It is about caring without clinging, allowing space without fear, trusting that genuine interest does not disappear simply because conversation pauses. When you can handle silence with calm confidence, you show that you can handle closeness with the same balance. That is how attraction deepens in a healthy, lasting way. 5. The over-attention shift. Sometimes she gives you a flood of attention, and at first it feels incredible, almost cinematic, like stepping into warmth after a long period of cold. Compliments come easily, replies are fast, and the connection feels intense and personal. For a moment, it seems like everything is moving in your favor. But then, without warning, it changes. The warmth fades, the message is slow, the energy shifts, and that contrast is not accidental. This pattern is one of the most common psychological dynamics when attraction is present, because inconsistency creates emotional attachment. But what matters most is not what she does. It's how you respond. Most men panic when attention drops. They try to recreate the high, chase the feeling, and restore what was once freely given. That is where the test reveals itself. Not in how you receive attention, but in how you stand when it disappears. Never confuse attention with value. Attention is a signal. It is not a foundation. If you want to become a grounded, high-value man, you must learn to enjoy attention without depending on it. Because dependence weakens attraction, while stability strengthens it. When attention is high, enjoy it. Be present, be warm, be engaged. But don't overextend yourself. Don't abandon your routines or rearrange your entire life around it. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. When attention fades, resist the urge to chase. Don't demand clarity. Don't force connection. Don't try to rebuild the peak. Peaks are temporary by nature. What matters is how you handle the dip. When you remain calm during that shift, you demonstrate emotional balance, and that balance is rare. Attraction grows when you stay steady, not when you react emotionally. Stay engaged with your own life. Keep your commitments. Maintain your focus. When your life is full, attention becomes a bonus, not a necessity. And that shift changes everything. It makes you more relaxed, more natural, and ultimately more attractive. because you are no longer trying to take something from the moment. You are simply sharing it. That quiet confidence builds respect, and respect fuels lasting attraction. Enjoy attention when it comes. Accept space when it appears, and remain the same person through both. That is emotional discipline, and that is what creates lasting desire. 6. The competition setup. When a woman subtly creates a sense of competition around you, mentioning admirers, placing other men in your environment, or simply allowing their presence to be noticed, understand this clearly. It is not randomness, and it is not chaos. It is a test of your self-command. And the men who succeed here are not the loudest, not the most reactive, and not the ones who rush to prove anything. They are the ones who remain calm, grounded, and quietly certain of their own value. In modern life, crowded workplaces, social media attention, dating apps, overlapping social circles, competition exists everywhere. But the man who treats it as background noise instead of a threat immediately separates himself. Strength reveals itself not through control of others, but through control of self. And that strength becomes visible when you don't tense up, don't posture, don't interrogate, and don't compare. Instead, you remain relaxed, lightly amused, present, and self-contained. That energy communicates something powerful. You are already complete. Insecurity seeks reassurance under pressure, while calm confidence expands because it requires nothing. That is why you never compete directly. You don't measure yourself against other men. You don't rush to outshine them. You don't adjust your behavior just to gain approval. You simply carry yourself like the prize, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty, because attraction responds to stability, not anxiety. This is where timeless principles become practical. Your role is not to control the situation around you, but to master your response within it. And when you do that consistently, you succeed without needing to announce it. The man who remains steady in uncertain moments naturally communicates leadership. He doesn't need to force it. Emotional strength, in this context, means refusing to be pulled off center by comparison. It means not allowing imagined rivals to dictate your mood, your posture, or your tone. Because the moment you enter competition, you lower yourself into the same frame as everyone else. But when you remain grounded, you step outside that frame entirely. In a world where validation is easy to give and easy to lose, this level of inner stability is rare, and rarity is compelling. Think of this moment as a silent evaluation of your inner structure. A chance to demonstrate whether your sense of worth comes from within or depends on external confirmation. The men who pass this test don't rush, don't over-explain, and don't try to claim territory. They stay engaged, speak clearly, listen attentively, and move with purpose. Purpose dissolves jealousy, and direction eliminates doubt. This is not about pretending competition doesn't exist. It's about understanding that it only has power if you accept its terms. And you don't. Your standards, your values, and your rhythm guide you. That is why this moment rewards emotional maturity over bravado, patience over impulse, and self-respect over reaction. If you trust your path, your timing, and your presence, nothing external can destabilize you. Because you are not auditioning, you are evaluating. You are evaluating. You are not chasing, you are choosing. And that shift changes everything. In practice, this means staying socially open. You don't withdraw or sulk. You don't try to impress. Your voice remains steady. Your humor natural, your body language relaxed. These small signals communicate a larger truth, that you are comfortable being desired without needing to secure it. And when that confidence is expressed consistently, it becomes magnetic. Life will always present situations where you are being observed more than you are being told, tested more than you are being challenged. And in those moments, people respond not to what you say, but to how you carry yourself. The men who master this don't just succeed in attraction. They develop a mindset that carries into every area of life, work, relationships, uncertainty. They handle it all with the same calm authority and inner steadiness. Because when you truly know who you are, competition fades into the background. What remains is presence, clarity, and a quiet confidence that cannot be taken away. That is how you win, without reacting, without proving, simply by staying centered and letting your confidence speak. 7. The hot and cold intensity cycle. The hot and cold intensity cycle begins subtly, often mistaken for strong chemistry. She shows warmth, attention, curiosity, emotional openness, making you feel chosen, seen, and deeply connected. And then, without warning, that energy cools. She becomes less responsive, creates distance, and replaces engagement with silence instead of explanation. This emotional contrast activates something powerful in the human mind. Unpredictability amplifies desire, and desire fueled by inconsistency can feel addictive, especially when the emotional highs feel so rewarding that the lows begin to feel unsettling. Most men respond instinctively. They chase the warmth, fear the distance, and try to restore the connection as quickly as possible. But that reaction is exactly where imbalance begins. Because instead of staying grounded, their emotional center starts revolving around her behavior. And the moment that happens, attraction quietly shifts. So don't rush to fix the silence. Don't interrogate the distance. Don't assume that space means loss of interest. In many cases, this pattern is less about withdrawal and more about testing emotional boundaries, whether consciously or subconsciously. The real dynamic here is not about decoding her every move, but about mastering your internal state. Because consistency in your presence sends a stronger signal than intensity ever could. When you remain calm through her fluctuations, study whether she is warm or distant, you create a contrast of your own. One that feels safe, grounded, and quietly intriguing, and that balance is rare, which makes it powerful. Emotional stability does not weaken attraction. It deepens it. It allows excitement to exist without anxiety. And anxiety is what erodes desire over time. So be the same man when she leans in as when she pulls away. Speak with clarity instead of urgency. Respond with intention instead of reaction. Allow space without trying to fill it with fear. Real connection is not built on emotional chasing. It is built on emotional leadership. And leadership begins with self-regulation. When your mood does not rise and fall based on her availability, something shifts in her perception. She feels a sense of relief because she is no longer responsible for managing your reactions. And that relief creates space for desire to grow naturally. Don't mirror emotional extremes. Don't reward inconsistency with overinvestment. Don't punish warmth with withdrawal. Extremes keep instability alive while balance quietly dissolves it. When you step off the emotional roller coaster, she begins to notice something different. Your presence feels calm instead of overwhelming. Conversations feel natural instead of pressured. Being around you feels energizing rather than draining. And that curiosity becomes powerful. Because curiosity invites connection without pressure, and pressure is the fastest way to suffocate attraction. Many misunderstand this, believing attraction grows through intensity alone. But intensity without stability becomes exhausting, while stability without warmth becomes dull. The real goal is emotional consistency, being engaged without dependence, interested without anxiety, present without reactivity. When you demonstrate that your inner state is self-sustained, she experiences you as grounded, safe, and quietly confident. And that combination allows deeper connection to form naturally. Not through force, but through trust. The moment you stop reacting and start responding, everything changes. Uncertainty turns into connection. Connection turns into genuine intimacy. And at the same time, you protect yourself. Because real connection requires boundaries that are calm, not rigid, and confidence that is quiet, not performative. When you hold that balance, you stop chasing attention, stop overanalyzing silence, and stop trying to win approval. You simply offer your presence and allow it to be chosen freely. That freedom is deeply attractive. It removes pressure and replaces it with mutual interest, mutual respect, and natural curiosity. And that is the most authentic form of connection, one that grows steadily instead of burning out. In the end, the man who stays centered while emotions fluctuate becomes the anchor, not through force, Not through control, but through consistency. And consistency is what transforms tension into trust, and trust into lasting desire. Before you go, take this with you, something real that you can actually apply in your life. All 7 of these behaviors come from one unspoken question. Is this man emotionally strong enough to stay steady when things become uncertain? These are not random actions. They are not meaningless confusion. They are filters. Women are not looking for men who react too quickly, explain too much, or lose themselves trying to be chosen. They are observing how you handle pressure, whether you stay calm or become unstable. So here is the truth. Stop trying to win the game. Stop trying to prove yourself. Stop taking everything personally. The moment you stop forcing, you start attracting. A grounded man does not chase energy. He creates it. He does not panic in uncertainty. He does not cling when attention fades. He does not collapse under pressure. That calm strength speaks louder than anything you can say. It creates safety. It builds curiosity. It forms attraction that goes beyond surface level. When you understand these dynamics instead of reacting emotionally, everything shifts. You move differently. You speak with more intention. You listen more. You trust yourself more. And that is when you become rare. Not loud, not aggressive, not desperate, just solid. Remember this. A man who controls his emotions controls the moment. And a man who stays centered under pressure becomes unforgettable. If this message gave you clarity, carry it forward. Stay committed to becoming stronger, wiser, and more grounded every day. Take care of yourself and keep moving forward.